So a lot of people out there think that the process of weight loss, fat loss, I should say, reduction in adiposity is just as simple as maintaining a caloric deficit. And it is. That is the most important thing. But how do we generate that deficit? Do we generate it with diet alone? Do we generate it with exercise? A combination? Doesn't matter. Let's get into it. All right, so first and foremost, let's all get on the same page. At the end of the day, thermodynamics is the rules, and energy balance is going to be the final arbiter of the success or failure of your weight loss journey. But that being said, there's a lot of different ways we can go about doing this, and that's what I want to get into today. I want to begin by mentioning that without resistance training, diet and or cardio is not necessarily going to just reduce your adiposity, because there isn't going to be a training stimulus to retain lean tissue. So I want to make it clear before I move on with the cardio and diet portions of this discussion that we don't gloss over the fact that resistance training is absolutely essential for the kind of outcomes that most of us want when we start on our fitness journey, which is to just lose the fat and retain the lean muscle. Even if you're not a strength athlete, lifting, resistance training is great for your health and longevity for a myriad of reasons. But if you're trying to drastically alter your appearance for the better, there's no better tool than resistance training. So with that out of the way, which lever is more important to pull, the diet lever or the cardio lever? I mean, obviously the correct answer is both, but for the sake of this discussion, let's take them individually in context. As much as it pains me to admit this, when it comes to which is more important for overall weight loss and energy expenditure, it's actually going to be the input of diet as opposed to the output of exercise. There's a couple of key reasons why this is the case. And before I move on, that's not to say that exercise doesn't have an effect. Obviously it does, and I'm going to explain specifically what that is. But in terms of what has the more robust effect on just the weight in the scale going down, it's going to be eating less than doing more work. Because, first of all, if you're just eating under your maintenance calories, even in the absence of exercise, you're going to lose weight. We see it all the time in the real world. It's called starvation. You pull that caloric restriction lever hard enough, and it doesn't matter. You're going to lose weight. Now, is it weight you want to lose? Probably not. But that's why we have to make the distinction between weight loss and fat loss. But before we do, let's talk about if you pull the exercise lever super hard. There's two main reasons why you can't pull the exercise lever too hard. Number one is sustainability. You can only train what you can recover from. I mean, here's the thing, folks. You can't just exercise forever. I mean, even if it's something simple like picking a direction and walking as many miles as your legs will take you, something is going to go wrong eventually before, if you have an iron will, you decide to stop. Tissues will get damaged and break, whether connective or muscular tissues. Things like rhabdomyolysis can happen. Exercise is an extra stress as opposed to less of a thing you need, which is diet. That's why if your mind is strong enough, the only thing that's going to stop you from dieting is you just diet too hard and you starve to death. Whereas exercising other things will stop you long before you decide to stop if you're a crazy person and just decide to exercise forever. That's why exercise is best utilized in titrated doses for specific training effects, as opposed to just a tool to leverage energy expenditure. And we've seen this played out ad nauseum, both in the literature and in real life. It's pretty much undebatable at this point. While an egregious deficit from diet and excessive exercise are both stresses, the stress from exercise is non-linear. Eventually, the stress will outpace your ability to perform and you'll just shut down. So, all that to say, the easiest route to just kind of getting the weight loss mechanisms going is some sort of restriction in diet. But again, you don't want to just do that because you want the additive training effect of the exercise for, your health, retaining of lean tissue, a host of other things, depending on the specific exercise that you prefer to do. Or even, let's not forget, skill acquisition and retention as well. If you play a specific sport, right? That's another reason why we exercise, out of the context of fat loss. But moving on, the other related reason why restriction in food intake is the more robust lever to pull than doing more exercise is something called Ponzer's paradox. So Dr. Herman Ponzer is an anthropologist, I believe. But anyways, he studies the kind of behaviors of indigenous people like the Hadza in Tanzania. I've talked about this in a couple different videos. But what he's observed that has been demonstrated, with various other means, is that the more activity we voluntarily do, the less involuntary non-exercise activities that we do. And those non-exercise activities like the fidgeting, the tapping our toes, the shivering when we're cold, the random moving around gestures when we're having conversations, all these kinds of things are a much larger contribution to our overall energy expenditure than the 300 calories we burn on the treadmill or on the Stairmaster or lifting weights or whatever the case may be. In other words, the more work that you do voluntarily, after a point, it's like a bell curve. The lower your involuntary activity is going to be throughout the rest of the day to compensate for the extra work that you're doing as an anti-starvation survival mechanism. So again, this is why exercise is best utilized in combination with caloric restriction through diet in titrated doses so that you don't crush it at the gym in the morning and then, you just kind of sit around at the office or at your house the whole rest of the day. And then in aggregate, your deficit is nowhere near what you think it is. And you're like, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. I'm doing all the things. And remember, folks, all stress is cumulative. This is the main reason why now, with a family and a career and traveling for work and trying to make videos like this, I don't really train to failure because it's not sustainable for my lifestyle. That's why if I can't train as much as I would like, I find it very effective to just pull a little back on the calories and increase my step count, kind of manipulating both those levers concurrently and staying lean through a combination of both. So going back to the original thumbnail, diet or cardio for weight loss, well, it's both. But the caloric restriction pretty much guarantees the scale's going to go down. But then the training gives you the effect of the retention of lean mass and or the health benefits and skill acquisition retention that you're going for. And the takeaway from all that, folks, is that you don't need to do either of them super aggressively. Pull back on what you eat a little bit, move around a little bit more, but not so much that you start moving around less, and then do those things for a meaningful period of time. Because consistency is a superpower, so if you want to lose weight, you got to stay in the fight. Thanks for watching.